Welcome back to the Good, the Bad and the Ugly podcast with me, Tony Murrell. Proudly sponsored by Eyes Wide Open Clothing and Loco's Competitions. This week's special guest is Gemma from Bipolar Mum Journey, who bravely shares her story of survival. She opens up about being groomed by gangs, the trauma of SA, and why she refuses to stay silent. This is a raw and powerful conversation you don't want to miss. Thanks for listening and watching this episode.
He's grabbed me by my hair, pulled me to the floor, started battering me on the floor in this pub of people. Nobody rang the police though. He came to my cell one day, grabbed me, barged in and just started snogging me. My inbox is full of women saying I wouldn't dare speak out, but this is what's happened to me.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, the Ugly podcast with me, Tony Murrell, proudly sponsored by Eyes Wide Open Clothing. This week's special guest is Gemma, and we're really looking forward to you sharing the good, the bad and the ugly. Thanks for coming, Gemma.
Thank you very
Lovely
much.
to finally meet you, love.
Yes, and you, yeah.
No, I've just, it's been a long time coming. Obviously, we've spoken for a good few months and stuff.
We have.
You know, the topics that we're going to speak about, you know, people aren't going to find it very nice, but it needs speaking about.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
And I just want to say you're an extremely strong, tough individual to speak about the topics that we're going to speak about. And I just, you know, I know it's going to bring a lot of stuff back, but listen, when people see this podcast and they see how strong and people won't sit in silence.
Yes. That's what I'm hoping.
No, that's it, love. And
so
listen, what we're going to do, we're just going to get right into it and just start from where you grew up, where you're from, and family life was like.
Yeah. So I was the result of a teen pregnancy, but my mother had her own problems. So she was dumped in an orphanage in 1968. I think her dad was a traveller man, and her mother had a thing for these traveller men, kept getting pregnant, kept dumping the babies in the orphanage. So she was one of many siblings, but they all got shipped out separately. So she always had abandonment issues. Therefore, she went on to abandon me. So I don't blame her. So the lady that adopted her then adopted me. And then my mum went off to Manchester from a little place called Buxton, Derbyshire, because that's where she was raised. She went off to Manchester, I think it was 1988. So that was, I think, the substance era of harsher substances. Yeah. And she ended up working for the Quality Street gang, or she had ties with the Quality Street gang. So she was bottom of the chain, if you know what I mean. It was like someone, then someone, then someone, then her, you know. Yeah. So they started dealing, my mum and my stepdad, and we would have so many characters come into the house, flat. It was like a trap house, what you would call, you know, or a den. And
how old was you at that time?
So I was about 6 when they.
Did you have a sister and that? Did you do?
I had a sister afterwards. She was born when I was 6. So I started going there about 4 years old. Yeah. And the vibe was very strange because I remember it to this day, you know, and. Then my sister came along a little bit later, so I was from the ages of about 4 to 13. I was going to Manchester to see all this, and we'd have loads of characters turn up. You know, someone had had their nose bitten off in a fight in a pub in Manchester, and he was called Gary No Nose. Then we had a guy that had his ear bitten off, and he was like No Ear Dave or something. And then we had another guy who used to wear, you know, you get all we give them nicknames, don't we? Yeah. A guy that used to wear Bermuda shorts and stuff. You know, there was all loads of characters there, and even though it sounds horrendous, I found it quite interesting because I like listening to the stories of all these guys. But then things took a turn when she changed substance to a harsher substance, right? You can use your imagination. Everyone can use their imagination. And then, you know, the gang life got a little bit heavier, and sometimes my parents would get into debt and whatnot. And then I remember this one time there was a taxer. You know what a taxer is, don't you? It's somebody that waits for your purchase and then he'll tax you with your purchase, or they'll tax you. So she said to my stepdad was a bit of a loose cannon, and she said to me, you know, she said to him, you need to go out and look for this taxer, but you can't get caught with the machete, because we had lots of weapons, right? So they've put she said, take Gemma with you. She's put the machete down. She put a pair of her Levi's jeans on me, put the machete down the back of my trousers. I remember to this day. And
how old are you against?
I was about 7 or 8. Yeah, about 7 or 8. Yeah, so she's pulled the belt tight, and I remember it to this day. And I've gone out with my stepdad to look for this taxi, so that if he needs to get it, he can just access it from my back of my trousers. But so he doesn't catch a charge, you see, because he was in and out of strange ways.
So they're using you to carry the weapon?
Yeah, they used me to carry the weapon. And then we went under, they lived in Hume in Manchester, right? And there was a subway right next to our block of flats. So we went under the subway, and I'll just remember it vividly, and there was a great big pile of blood on the floor under the subway with all clots in it. It would congeal because it had been there for so long. So I must have been shocked at it, but my stepdad reassured me and goes, oh, don't worry about it, don't worry, you know, it'll just be like from a dog or something. Anyway, we've not found this taxi, but imagine if we had, you know, what would have happened? What would I have seen? And then we've gone back to the flat, and that was that situation. And then I remember one guy had taken a hit of substance, and he started having an epileptic fit. And then my dad was a white rasta, right? Yeah, culture vulture, I know, but he was a white rasta. He went by the religion, like he worshipped Jah and all of that. And then he used to hang around with this other rasta, this mixed race guy. Anyway, this guy had a hit. The other rasta came in, and he was like, get a spoon, he's going to swallow his tongue. So we're seeing all this. This lad's kicked over my dad's substance all over the floor, right? So you can imagine my stepdad, he's trying to scrape it all up off the floor. This guy's having a fit. Yeah, it was just chaos, absolute chaos. And then because they were obviously selling, we had CCTV cameras, right? So my mum, being on this other substance, started to get psychosis. So she would, when she had to go and get a delivery or something, or a pickup, she had to go and pick up, which was the only time I ever saw my mum happy, when she was interacting with these higher up Mancunian, you know, gangsters, you know what I mean? But she idolised that life, you know what I mean? It was the only time I ever seen her happy, like I say. And then she'd come back and sit me in front of the CCTV, thinking that there was brassers coming to the house. So she was like, can you hear them coming in, Gemma? So now her psychosis is
putting it
onto me. And sometimes I could hear him coming, going, John, you know, he's dead now, so I can say his name, at the letterbox. But I used to say, oh no, I can't hear him, because I didn't want her to be upset. So it was just chaos after chaos. And
you're only 8, aren't you?
I'm only, 8, 9 and all this. And
was you going to school as well?
I was going to school. So I was lucky. So my nan raised me in Buxton, Derbyshire, Monday to Friday. So I had an escape, but my sister didn't. She came along when I was about 6. So she was in it. They raised her, they kept her, but I was like given to my grandma, which was a blessing in disguise, really, because I got some time away, some respite.
Yeah.
So I went there on the weekends, but my sister, bless her, she was subjected to it. I don't know what she saw, because she was there 24/7, you know.
Yeah.
And that was it, really. But the reason they had their addictions is because of trauma. So my stepdad, he lost his sister to murder. Mm-hmm. She was at a school disco, and this boy approached her, and she refused his advances. He's grabbed her, took her to a secluded area, followed her home. But listen, my stepdad was supposed to walk her home, and he didn't. So then he had to live with the regret.
He's had to live with him for
He had to live with the regret. So what this lad's done, he dragged my auntie to a secluded area. He's essayed her, beat her. She was just hanging on, but he didn't want that. So he set her on fire, stamped on her face to cover her identity. And then obviously...
Fucking horrific.
Yeah, horrific, yeah. She lost her life. And then he did go to prison for it. I'm not sure how long he got. It was somewhere in about the 50s.
Because your dad hadn't gone to pick his sister up and whatever.
Yeah.
That like anything.
He was tormented.
And it never went. And that's why you think substance abuse and stuff like that.
Yeah, substance abuse, yeah. So... although it sounds horrendous, and yeah, it probably is, I wouldn't raise my children like that, but the reason they had addiction was because of these deep traumas. You know, he didn't come from the best background either, just like my mum. Even the lady that raised her wasn't the best, you know, she was quite narcissistic, and then there was an abuse scandal that we don't know, and he's dead now, so I daren't say it in case it isn't true. So I'm like, what did she witness? What was she subjected to? She also saw my granddad's deterioration because he had cancer from being on the ships in the Navy in Japan and places like that. And then he got skin cancer, so she saw his deterioration. You know, it was just trauma after trauma after trauma.
It's just a long list of...
It's such a long list, yeah. So I don't blame him. You know, I know it sounds horrendous, but He gave me lots of stories.
But you know what though, Gemma? When you say you don't blame them.
Yeah.
Because everyone, as a kid growing up in like the 80s and whatever, and 90s and stuff, and even kids of today, people's circumstances are a lot different, and people don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and people, you know, people can portray this mask and whatever and be happy, and when you don't know the full story of what's gone on and why people do drink, why people do take drugs, why people do, you know, certain, you know, addictions. And we've just had a previous guest on before, and she was an alcoholic, and she said trauma, you know, with like certain things. And when you mention the word trauma, like a lot of people, it's made me think about it now when people do go through trauma in life, and it's like a substitute to block it out. Don't get me wrong, it's still there the next day.
Yeah, of course, of course.
But that little bit of time to take...
Respite.
That respite, it's the word.
Yeah, that's it. Because my mum's attitude when she took a hit, she was in this euphoric state, and I preferred her on it than off it. Not the harsh, they're both harsh.
When the rattling and like that or something. It's like when you have I had aunties and uncles who were, you know, into hard drugs and stuff, and I seen it, you know, and I used to think, what the fuck are they taking that for? And like you've just said there, you know, we've had people on who've been addicted to certain substances, and they say it was the best feeling in the world, and it made me, you know, forget about everything. And I'm thinking, fucking hell. If
you could just switch your brain off.
Yeah.
Even for us, it'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Of course it would,
But I just couldn't lean into that. But some people
some people do. And listen, I'm not here to judge anybody.
No, me either.
Listen, when you've been there and you've been around certain situations, you sort of get it. And I do get what you're saying, where people might watch this and go, what the fucking hell is she on about?
Yes, they will do.
Because they didn't live that experience, what you did, and you seen your mum and your dad.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that was... Unfortunately, they made choices. They weren't the right, you know, they're not the right choices, but for them, they thought it was the right choices.
Yeah.
So what happened from there then?
So what happened from there is they both got really into the substance, where it was coming to a point where they were just getting in debt. So they had to go into hiding then.
Would you use?
Oh, actually, no. With my sister. But prior to that, my stepdad went to Strangeways.
Would he go to jail?
Yeah, so my mum was on her own, this little woman, still carrying on the business, right? A rival gang from Moss Sides come into my mum's flat, got broke in, or she's opened the door, I can't remember what, so they've gang essayed her, and she had a little lad, she used to get a guy from upstairs to come and stay with her while my dad was in Strangeways.
So she could go and visit and stuff?
No, for company.
Oh, right.
For company. Oh, because me and my sister were we was at my grandma's, both of us that night. Dodged a bullet there, didn't we? So the gang essayed her, but not just that, they gang essayed him as well. Yeah. So, but because she was running gangland territory, she couldn't go to the police because they took all of her substance as well.
They taxed her?
Yeah, taxed her of everything, did that to her. So, you know, so my mum had all that trauma on top of it, and that wasn't the first guy. You know, she started having an affair behind my dad's back, which was naughty, and then he brutalised her with an open bottle, nearly unalived her. Yeah, and she used to brush it off and just say, oh, he did a fatty arbuckle on me. I don't know if you know who fatty arbuckle is, but what he did is he essayed a woman, and I think he actually unalived a woman with an open bottle. Yeah, because I know this is brutal, but he took her insides out, and then he did that to my mother. But my mother still went back to him because these monsters get in your head, and she went back, even though he did that to her. Anyway, so all that happened. My dad come out, they ended up getting in more debt, and went into hiding. He got found, got shot in the head, not directly. So he was on a balcony and got caught, and the guy's gone like that, bosh, from I can't remember, it would have been from the same gang, but I don't know if it was still the Quality Street gang. It was another gang at this point because they were there for years. Shot him, it's gone up and slit his head open at the top. I got told this, another couple, because I'd not spoke to him for 6 months because they went missing, they were in hiding, and I didn't know where they were.
You were at your nan's.
And I was at my grandma's, my nan's. And another couple that used to go down to Manchester to get substance, because you know what it's like, you can't get it in the small towns sometimes. Before county lines were a thing, you used to have to travel to the big cities to get substance. They come and knocked on the door and said, your mum is on the game to pay back the debt and your stepdad's been shot. So I was like, what? So I've gone to school, I had a really good connection with my form tutor, and he was a guy. But he never wanted anything from me. There was never any, you know, ulterior motive. He was just a real strong man in my life.
He looked out for you.
Yes, he did. So I felt I could open up to him. I said, look, my dad's been shot and my mum's on the game. I've not seen him for 6 months. And he goes, I knew something was up. And he goes, are you sure this is definitely? So we had to call my grandma to, you know, a 13-year-old girl in a small town saying that her dad's been shot. He's like, this is not.
Because in a village there, nothing like that goes on.
Nothing. So he thought I was telling Porky, so he had to ring my nan to confirm. And then, bless him, he rang every hospital in Manchester to see if my dad had been referred there or whatever.
Did he not ring social services or nothing like that? Or?
No, because I was with my grandma. That's probably what it was, because I was with my grandma.
Yeah.
And he knew that I was safe there. So no, he did, and then it turned out my stepdad didn't go to the hospital. He had to patch it up himself. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Didn't go to the hospital, and he was like, he had a great big scar up his head. So then that was that, and then finally we got a phone call one Christmas, and it was my mum and my stepdad saying, look, we need to come back to Buxton ASAP. So my grandma said, oh, of course, you know, we'll meet you at the train station and come here. And then that was it really, and then from there they got accommodation from the government, and then I went from this kind of half-stable life at my grandma's, playing violin, playing piano, doing beauty pageants.
Normal stuff.
Yeah, normal stuff, but she was quite narcissistic, so she was living through me. So I was one of those children, you remember back in the 70s, you used to have a poufet. Do you remember a poufet?
Puff, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
yeah.
Poufet.
Yeah, poufet, darling, poufet. Yeah, and my nan used to sit me on there and she'd make me sing Crystal Gale, Olivia Newton-John. I was a performer.
In front of everyone?
In front of everybody, honestly. So it was like...
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Draining, yeah. So it's no wonder, you know, I'm a bit... So anyway, and they came, and then I said, do you know what, Nan, I want to move in with my mum, because she had all these young lads coming because she was...
You, by this time, you're a teenager.
Yeah,
you're sort
14, I think.
Yeah.
14 years old, and she'd brought business to Buxton. So... She had all these young lads, because like I've said on other podcasts, it seemed like all the...
Did she set up shop and...
Yeah. And it seemed like all the best looking lads were on substance. So I'm 14 and all these lads are coming around. I'm like, oh, it's more fun than being at my boring old grandma's. I'm going to move in with my mum. Well, worst decision I could have made, because my life just deteriorated. I dropped out of school.
Drinking.
Started messing about with cider and bits of substance. I think a bit of like puff or whatever, right? And I dropped out of school and I had to go to a provisional college, you know, for naughty kids. Even though I weren't naughty, I was a really good kid. But, well, they didn't have anywhere to put me, so they stuck me in there. Anyway, I managed to get my grades back up to go back and do me GCSEs. I got a college course, a childcare college course, and I was a teaching assistant for adapted needs kids, right? And then, bosh, I started to get... Well, prior to that, that's when I started to get groomed, right? I started going...
What people don't understand, grooming, when people understand... What does grooming mean? Because some people don't understand what grooming means.
So grooming is just total gaslighting you, you know? It is selling you a dream and delivering you a nightmare and just out and out lying to you, you know? I can't explain it any more than that.
It's like when you say, you know, and we're going to get into it, it's like so many children are groomed where it could be, you know, what we're going to speak about. Yeah. But drug, like county lines and stuff like that and stuff. Lines, yeah. You know, it's, you know, now I think there's some kind of, there's charges now where you can bring, and this needs to be looked at, you know what I mean? Yeah. But your story, what you're going to speak about now is where you were groomed from what, the age of 14, 15?
No, I was 16, so I wasn't as young as a lot now. A lot of these girls suffered way more than I did. So maybe that's why I'm here to tell my story, do you know what I mean? Well...
Your story's fucking... It's heavy.
Yeah, it is heavy. It is heavy, but I still think there's a heavier, you know? That's how I've just got over it. That's how I've got over it.
And it's coming to light now. It's coming to the surface.
It is.
And this is why we need to get this podcast out there, because what you're speaking about, and and thank you very much for coming on and sharing it. I've got to be honest. I know it's going to be hard to speak about it, and if you want to stop at any time, you can do.
Of course, no, I know.
So how did it all come about?
So me and a couple of my friends, we used to hang out in a pizza parlour called Spicy Kitchen. I'm going to name it because it was flagged up to the police on multiple occasions, which I've only just found this out, you know. How bad is that? I thought I was the only girl in my town to be groomed at this pizza parlour for 20 years, and now I found out it's hundreds of girls, Tony. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so we started hanging about in this pizza parlour. There was a 15-year-old South Asian lad there, and he was same age as us, 15, 16, and we would get chatting with him and that, and we thought it was like new and different because
he'd speak to you and stuff.
Yeah, and he would tell us about his religion and living in Oldham. It was a totally different kettle of fish compared to what we were used to, you know, so found it kind of interesting, but then all of a sudden, after a few weeks, these older South Asian lads started turning up who could drive, who were kitted out in the jewellery and the tracksuits and whatnot. And he would come and he would just like, you know, no one had, even though I knew my mum loved me, she didn't ever tell me she loved me, or she didn't really show me or hug me or anything. And he just came over. He could just, I must have had victim stamped on me, yeah, because he knew how to play me. And he would come and, you know, play with my hair and touch my face. And he'd be like, oh, you're a little cutie, innit? And, you know, just little things like that.
Things that you want to hear.
Things that I wanted to hear, yeah. And I took a real shine to him. I thought he wanted to be my boyfriend, you know what I mean?
You see, you know, at that age, you don't understand, and like you say, you don't. So you would it's like you, what's the name, lighted, aren't you?
Yeah, gaslighted completely. And it even makes me sad to this day because I did like him, you know. It was like strange, isn't it? And so he lured me in and everything, and he was like, oh, do you want to come to Bradford? And I was like, Bradford's 2 hours away from Buxton.
That's what I was going to say. How far is it?
Yeah, 2 hours, Tony, yeah. And I said to my friends, should we go? And they were like, oh, they come from like a 2-parent household and a stable background. And they were like, no, Gemma, like that's dangerous. But I was like, well, I'm going to go because I was like smitten with this lad. You know what I mean? I say lad, he was like in his mid-20s to late 20s.
He was an adult?
Yeah, he was an adult and I was 16. And then he just started taking me to Bradford. 2 hours there, 2 hours. 2 hours to pick me up, 2 hours to get me there, 2 hours to take me home. It was like who does that for a 16-year-old girl? You know what I mean? But this is what they're doing, these groomers. And then he would take me to HMV. I remember he bought me an Eternal CD and I was absolutely buzzing. Do you know what I mean? Nobody had ever bought me anything. He took me to McDonald's, you know, all these other little shops. But then it started to turn, and this went on for a few weeks. And then he started taking me to trap houses. And then I saw him dropping off big loads of substance. And I thought, oh, okay, he's not the little cute guy I thought he was. This is serious. And then the women that he was dropping the substance off were kind of complicit in it. She was like talking to me like she was a little friend, you know what I mean? Like I was her friend and stuff. And I was like, oh, you know, I'm really accepted here. And then one night, and I'll kick myself, right? He said, I'm going to bring a mate. I'm going to pick up a mate from Bradford and we're going to go up to Buxton. You're going to bring a mate out with us, right? So I stupidly rang my friend and said, do you want to come out for a drive? Yeah. She's come out, got in the car, and he goes, do you want some alcohol? So we were like, oh, yeah, okay. But we ended up just getting some, like, packet. Do you remember them sidekick shots or whatever? But he couldn't buy it because, obviously, his religion. So we've had to wait outside Bargain Booze, get a white English guy to buy it. He just thought we were two kids that wanted a bit of alcohol. So he shouldn't have bought it us either. But you know what? You know what it's like.
Yeah,
you know what it's like. So he's got us some alcohol. We've gone, he's drove us down to his car park. We've necked these shots and whatnot. And his friend grabbed my mate and just said, oh, we're just going to go out. And I thought this is a bad situation because
you
now
could sense something's not right.
This is she's not in my view. I don't know where she is. And he goes to me, now, you know, all these gifts, they ain't for free. You know that, don't you? And he was like, wanted an intimacy act. Yeah. So I've had to do that knowing full well my mate is probably
having the same situation.
Yeah, but I think he fully SA'd her. Yeah. So I'll always regret that. So I knew when they got back, she was shaken up and I thought, I've got to get her to safety because he was like, let's carry and drive around some more because that probably wouldn't have been the last time. Well, I'm going to go into it. So I said, no, let's get my friend home because it'll bring us on top because she needs to be home at a certain time because I thought I need to get her to safety. So we've dropped her off. She's gone home and then he goes, oh, I want to like come into your house and meet your mum. So I've now took these two South Asian guys into my mum's house. He has passed me on to his friend, let his friend take me upstairs. He's gone to my mum. My friend is going to take your daughter upstairs, yeah? My mum had just had her head kicked in, nearly got unalived by my stepdad. I got him sent to prison for it. And so she was suffering from PTSD. Two big South Asian lads in her house, you know what I mean? And she always raised me, if it's easier to go with it, go with it. And I know that's really bad, but she grew up in gangland territory and she knew it could be a possibility that would happen to us. So she always raised us as if you're going to get SA, just go with it if it's safer, right? And it's mad, but that's how we grew up. Anyway, so I was gutted. He just passed me on to his friend. I thought he was like my boyfriend. You know what I mean?
You were seeing a different side of it, and then it's just like, there you go.
There you go, yeah. So then while I was upstairs getting SA'd by his mate, right, because his mate SA'd me, so he's SA'd my mate on the same night as he's SA'd me, yeah. And when I was upstairs, he'd give my mum some substance, asking her, is it good, and
tested
all that.
And all
Testing her, because he already said, because she opened up to me and said, he asked me, you know what my mate's doing with your daughter up there, don't you? So she obviously just had to nod. What more can you do? So he was testing how, you know, who's in the house, how's this going to go down? Am I an easy target? So then we've got them out the house, and he said to my mum, there's more where that come from if you let us, you know, take your daughter and whatnot. Anyway, we've got them out the house. She goes, Gemma, you need to get out. They're grooming me and they're grooming you. You need to get out. And I was like, I know, Mum, I can handle it. I'll sort it out. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, no more after that. Once he made me do that, Tony, I said no more. That was it. I've managed to break free. And in the process of breaking free, I got with this older lad who should have known better. He was 27 and I was 16. So again, now I remember sitting in his house, and this guy was, because they use nicknames, these guys, you don't know the real names, you only know them by the nicknames. Anyway, this lad, he's rang me up, he goes, I want to pick you up, why aren't you answering my calls, I need to pick you up. But he could see, my boyfriend could see that I was shaking on the stairs. He's got on the phone, told this South Asian lad, you ain't coming up here no more, you leave my missus alone. So luckily, I had a few more texts after that.
Yeah.
But it was all done, Tony, all done and dusted.
Had you told your boyfriend about this previously?
Yeah, he knew, he knew.
And what was his reaction, you know what I mean? Was he...
Yeah, he said, do not go near him, don't go near him. He said, do not go near him at all. He said...
Has the police ever spoke about or not?
No, because...
Because situations and stuff like that were your mum and what they were up to and stuff like that.
Just that, but because I felt I'd put myself in that position,
right.
I thought, I've brought it on myself. That's what I thought.
Is that what you genuinely thought?
That's what my mindset, that's my mindset. Yeah.
Now then, everyone, sorry for interrupting the episode. Just a message from our sponsor, Eyes Wide Open Clothing. They've got everything from tracksuits, t-shirts, tracky bottoms, swimwear, you name it, they've got it. Don't forget to use the discount code TGTBTU at the checkout for 10% off your entire order.
So all that went on, and then 6 months later, and I'd just turned 17 I've been 17 for a while, I was at a party with friends. I've left this party and I thought, right, I'm going to go to my grandma's, because my grandma's was over the road and my mum's was quite far, and I was like, had a couple of drinks and whatnot. So I thought, right, I'm going to go. Anyway, so I've gone, and then just out of nowhere, this guy has just grabbed me by the thing of my neck, and I thought it was a prank, right? I thought, it's got to be a prank. This doesn't happen, you know what I mean? Anyway, another guy's come, they've dragged me, and I thought, I'm going back to the bedsit, because they were dragging me back over the road, so that's why I thought it was a prank, Tony, right? Anyway, sorry.
It's okay, love.
They've dragged me into this bedsit, they've took me up these stairs, right? And it's like 2 flights of stairs, they've took me in this tiny room, and then there was an adjoining room on these bedsits, you know what bedsits are like. And they've just grabbed me. 2 of them have grabbed me, and then there's more men coming. They're all talking in the mother tongue. I couldn't tell a word they were saying, right? And they've just gone. I can't go into it too much.
No, you don't.
They've just gone one after the other, just penetrated me.
Yeah. You're all right.
Yeah, sorry, but I just...
No, listen, love, I know.
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to. It was the smell, the voices, and... You know, it was...
Horrific. I can't imagine it.
To be taken.
To be abducted off the street. To be abducted off the street.
Sorry, I was trying to be strong.
No, you listen, Gemma, don't be stupid, love. Don't be stupid. Listen, you've got to... You know what? Don't be stupid. This is, like I say, you know, and you're saying this is... Yours isn't serious as what others and stuff. Listen, any essay... that goes on out there, especially what we're talking about, and it's out there now when people are starting to come out and speak. Yeah. And you are one strong individual who are helping people and sitting in silence. That's
it. And I think what it is, Tony, is I minimise it. because I've always felt like bottom of the barrel, like I was just nothing, you know.
You're not bottom of the barrel. You're not bottom of the barrel, and you need to understand that.
Yeah.
I know you. Listen, you've got to understand by coming here and speaking to us and speaking so openly about it, because you want to raise awareness, because it's out there, Gemma.
Yeah, it is.
It's out there, and people think people being silenced all the time.
Yeah.
You know, lucky enough, you're still here, where some people
aren't. I've got an inbox full of women that've lost sisters.
This is what I mean. It's absolutely traumatic, and I'm you know, for you to speak out and to raise awareness, and you know, I just find you such an inspirational, strong woman.
Oh, thank you.
You know what you're doing, and you're trying to help other women, and you know. So if we want to move on, because I think that's just like, you know.
No, because it's important. I say it all the time, because the trial and everything, it all comes into play, Tony. So I've gone home. I don't even know. Well, they've marched me down the stairs. Let's just go through it all so people know the details. They've marched me. They've let me get dressed. I thought they were going to kill me, right? They've thrown my clothes at me. They've let me get dressed. Then they've marched me down the stairs, right? And then another guy from the bedsitters has come out.
Because he's heard the commotion.
And I don't, like, would he have screamed? I don't know. Honestly, I just don't know. And then they've marched me out the door. They've pushed me out the door. And I don't care because I'm free, right? So I've gone down these little cobble path and these stairs, and I've just started to walk really fast. And the next thing I know, he's come up again, the main guy in a car again, just revving up, and he's going, get in, because obviously they've seen I'm traumatised. They knew that lad had seen me, so it would have been easy for them to unalive me, you know. So I think that's what they were going to do. So I thought, this is my only chance, so I've just started running and screaming as loud as I could and just running. Anyway, he's gone. He's just gone vroom, off. I've managed to get home, right? I've took all my clothes off. Luckily, I didn't put them in the wash. Put them in the bathroom on the floor. I've got in the shower and I just showered myself. I thought, just go to bed, Gemma. It doesn't matter, you know, just go to bed. I've gone to bed. I've got... And it was just my mum's face, you know. I know everybody's blaming her for having those South Asian lads in the house and taking substance off her, but she was petrified, Tony. Do you know what I mean? But she was a rock to me, and she goes, sorry.
No, you don't need to be sorry.
And she said, what's happened to you, Gemma? You're not yourself. And I said, I've been essayed. And she goes, by you? And I said, I don't know, Mum. She was like, bang, right, let's get the police on the phone, right? Sorry.
No.
The police have come and they've interrogated me, not one time, Tony, but like 3 times. You know what it's like when you're an SA victim. You get interrogated as though it's your fault, you know, and I understand it because there are girls that lie. I know there's a small portion of girls that tell fibs. I know that. And then they've gone to the bedsits, and these guys have all absconded. So that's your evidence right there. That was the evidence. They've gone. What more do you want, you know? And so that's all happened. It was a big investigation. They've put these guys, because I've gone for a test. The gynaecologist was male. So to add insult to injury, I've got a male gynaecologist doing my tests.
You would think it would be a female, obviously, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. But so that's something that needs to change. So just the relief, like I could just feel the relief now of having, you know, the police come out to me now. And so they've done the test. They found multiple DNA. You know what it's like. I think one of them bothered to use something. So when they went and did the forensics, there was something in the bin as well. They've put them on Crime Watch because they couldn't find them. Some of them
they have faces of them and stuff like that?
A couple of them did. So some of them had a database. Some of them were legal. I think they were all legal. I don't know. I've never really looked into that. Some of them had a database, so they put their pictures, you know, on Crime Watch. It used to be Crime Watch back in the day. I don't know if that's still a thing. So they did that, and then luckily the members of the public in London grassed them in. So that was, you know, good of them. They said, yeah, he's working here, or yeah, he lives here. So they got, honestly, I've blacked it out, and I can't remember if they got all of them, but I think they got the majority of them to go to trial. So
were they all denying it?
All denying it. There was even a letter.
Even with the DNA and stuff?
Yeah, so these guys were Middle Eastern. And there was a letter written to one of his parents in the Middle East saying, not enough to incriminate himself, but there was, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like, there was enough, but he was saying we need money for, like, the top barrister or whatever, right? So that was a thing. They had there was my clothes, there was DNA, there was the fact that he'd absconded. There was so much evidence against him.
What about the gentleman in the what's his name?
Yeah, him. He was there. He came to my court case. They got my friends that I was at the party with to make sure that I wasn't incapacitated. You know, that I'd left and walked and
you wasn't drunk.
Yeah, really drunk. So I had so much
on your side,
on my side, but. As I walked into the jury was made up of ethnic minority backgrounds. I think there was one white English guy on there. Sorry, my contact lens is coming out. There was one white English guy on there, but the rest were... So all I looked like was a little white girl telling nasty lies about all these brown men, you know. That's how it felt to me. So it went on for, I think it was 2 weeks, the trial, right? And... All not guilty. All said I agreed to it. So that's how they got away with it. They said I agreed to it. But prior to that, I've totally forgot this bit. So I mentioned my grooming because my mum said, mention your grooming, Gemma, because this is a targeted attack. I'm telling you, she goes, how did they know you were at that party? How did they know you were on that street? You. She goes, this doesn't happen. Like, it doesn't. You know, this is Buxton. It doesn't happen. So I mentioned to the coppers that I was groomed at 16, that I broke free, that he was pestering me a little bit. This is his name, you know, blah, 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 blah. And they go, oh, no, don't mention that. It's going to squash your rape case. They'll think you've brought it on yourself. So my grooming was swept under the rug. They just said, don't, you know what I mean? So that was that. So I think, could it have helped me? I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But they weren't willing to take that down anyway. So it was just classed as a kidnap and an essay. That was it. No grooming relations with it.
How did you feel in court, Gemma, when you're here and they're not getting a guilty?
I was devastated. I fell to the ground in a heap. I was just wailing. And get on this, the white English guy that was on the jury grabbed hold of my mum and he goes, I'm really sorry, I felt bullied into that. He goes, I believe your daughter.
Oh, you're all right.
I'm sorry, but just that one man, believe me.
Out of another...
Out of a jury of 12.
Out of 12.
Women on that jury, Tony. Oh, and I was just a little girl. I know I was 17, but I didn't look 17. I was a little girl. Mm. And they said to me, do you want to do video? Sorry, can I get a drink?
Of course you can.
They said, do you want to do video link or can you face going in the courtroom with the curtain, you know, in the victim box?
You don't have to face them, yeah.
And I said, I want to do video link. And they pressured me into going into the courtroom with the curtain there. And one of them kept...
You could still hear the voice.
Yeah, one of them kept shouting out. I could only hear him shout out on one day, but it just went on and I just thought I could hear it. Oh,
it was just bringing everything...
Yeah, it was just horrible, man, because they were talking in their mother tongue when they were...
Together.
Yeah, and it was petrifying.
For you to be forced, a 17-year-old child to be forced into going into it. Listen, anyone who's been to court, a county court, they're a scary, scary place.
Yeah. It was Crown Court this went to,
Fucking hell.
And their barristers were top notch because they had high up money in their country of origin. So they annihilated me. They flipping annihilated me. And the things they say to you, do you know what your private area is? Or are you sure it went in?
It's the way they twist things and the way they...
Yeah, it was just...
Why would you make something up? Of that, you know, that's probably what's going through your head.
Yeah.
Why would they, you know, and it's just to what's going on by being groomed by this guy who you thought was like, you know, oh, bloody hell, I've never had this before. Yeah. And then to be snatched off the streets.
Yeah, that's it. And this is why I never went to police over groomers, because I always thought, well, I've put myself in that position and I kind of liked him still. How crazy is that? You know, so I never thought this was an issue for the police. I kind of thought, you know, like you say, I shouldn't have done, but I thought I brought it on myself. But that I did not bring on. So I was like, you know, my mum was like, no, Gemma, we are
straight
going.
To the police.
Yeah, straight to the police. But it didn't.
After the court case, Gemma, what happened from there?
Right, so after the court case, well, then I lost my college course because I was on my college course by that time. So I couldn't, because what happened is I started drinking, going out on weekends, just drinking because I lost all my self-respect, everything. I got into a big fight in another pizza parlour, thrown a milkshake bottle. It's hit a lad in the head. Got a battery charge then, so that was my first criminal charge.
With the law and all that.
Yeah, so this was my first, well, you know, of many. And so I had to drop my childcare course. I managed to get a business course, but it weren't the same. Do you know what I mean? I'm fried on helping kids with adapted needs. So that was that. And then nobody would touch me with a 10-foot barge pole because all my white counterparts, you know what small towns are like. If they don't grow up around diversity, they're very narrow-minded. So they all called me brown bait. They all turned on me. So I had my lads didn't want to go near me because they thought I was a liar. So, you know what I mean? I was like getting it from all angles.
You're suffering with what, you know, with what's gone on and all that. Yeah. And then you're trying to get on with life.
Yeah.
But you're just getting battered to go back to square one.
Yeah, that's it. So the only lad that did pay me attention, well, you can imagine what he was like, can't you? So he could sense I was vulnerable.
This is the serious partner. Was it another second serious partner? Was this?
So this is a second serious partner, but the partner prior to that, so the 27-year-old, right? Even though he got me out my grooming scandal and whatnot, he ended up going started on anabolic steroids. You know what they're like, don't you? I mean, sent him absolutely loopy, right? He's chased me and my best friend round. We got a bed sit together. He's ended up chasing me and my best friend round the bed sit with a samurai sword, yeah? He's lunged it at me. It's managed to stick in the door to the living room. I've managed to duck under it because he couldn't get it out. I've said to my mate, get out the door. We've got out the door, gone to my mum's house. About 4 hours later, he's turned up at my mum's house, gone, where's Gemma? I did leave, and I think he'd gone out, I'd went back, left a nasty letter on the wall. I was 16, you know, that's what we do, right? So I put that on the wall. He's then turned up, and I think it was a bit rude. It was like, you are a piece of rubbish, whatever, anyway. And then he come to my mum's house and ended up stabbing himself in the leg with a kitchen knife in front of me, my mum, and my little sister. But that was because he was quite normal till he started anabolic steroids.
It sent him off the
sent him off the radar. So that all happened, and then I ended up, you know, that was like prior to the SA. So that was another thing. And then, so my second abusive partner was who we're going to talk about now. So I grabbed his attention with both hands because nobody would touch me.
No one was giving you the attention.
Nobody was giving me attention. So he was the only one. And he was in college. He had a good job. He was a welder and whatnot. On paper, he looked all right, but mentally.
Screw loose.
Yeah, screw loose. So he kept turning up to my mum's door, and my mum was like, no, I don't like him, Gemma. And he kept...
She got that vibe straight away.
She got the vibe, and then he would be derogatory to her. And so I left it for a while, but then I thought, I was just so desperate, Tony, of companionship, you know. So I just ended up getting with him, and then that was it. I think we ended up in a shared accommodation, and then he started smashing the accommodation up.
Smashing the place up. And
he got hooked on party substance, you know, the horse tranquilizer one. So he was just flipping scatty as anything. And then he went out he'd had an altercation with a lad out my class from school. He felt he was narcissistic, you see, so he felt his ego had been crushed by this other lad. So he's got 2 kitchen knives out the drawer, gone to stab this lad with these kitchen knives. Anyway, he couldn't find the lad, and a neighbour's seen him wielding these knives up and down the street. So she's rang the police. The police have arrested both of us because he wouldn't take the rap. Even though they didn't find us with the knives were in an open drawer, but there was nothing in the drawer, just these knives, so they'd put 2 and 2 together. So then he dragged me to the police station. Then I've got possession of offensive weapon.
Added to your list.
Added to my list. He got threats to kill. Can I say that? Yeah. Because he threatened to kill the police officer. There was criminal damage charges, all that. It was all my criminal history stems from him. So all that happened, and then we went up. This is when he hadn't really put his hands on me at that point. There was a lot of toxicity, but he'd not physically, you know. Yeah. Then had to move in with my mum, and then I remember we had an altercation on the stairs because I'd found a Rude magazine in his drawer. You know what it's like. I was heavily pregnant by this point. I ended up getting pregnant. I've had to go at him, and he's dashed a cash card, and it's gone bash, and it's smacked me straight in the nose, cut my nose open. So that was the first start of it. So he did that when I was heavily pregnant, and then from there it was just abusive. It wasn't so much physical, but as soon as I had the baby, I went to give birth, and he was in my ear, why is your mum here? You know, just constantly, I'm trying to give birth, right? And he's going, why is she here? She's taking over the show. It should be only me here. Why is your sister here? You know, I need support. I'm 19 years old and I'm giving birth. I've never given birth before, never been pregnant before. You know, I need support. So all that, and then, you know, I went home. I really didn't want to go home. You know, I was in the hospital. The nurses were so nice to me, Tony. Nobody had ever been nice to me. And these nurses were showing me how to feed and telling me how to, you know, do his nappy and all the rest of it. It was just a lovely experience, and I just wanted to stay there forever. Anyway, then he come pick me up in his car and I thought, oh, I don't want to go. Anyway, I've gone. And then about 3 weeks down the line, the baby's 3 weeks old now. There's been an altercation. He took these girls back. So I've said, you've cheated. You've been cheating, or whatever. He's then grabbed hold of me. I'd just bathed my baby, put him on the bed, and his baby grow and whatnot. He's grabbed hold of me, threw me on the bed on top of the baby. Oh. Yeah. So I've jumped up quickly. I'm screaming. The baby's crying. I thought he'd unalived the baby. Yeah. Then he's grabbed hold of me, put me in the downstairs bathroom while he's holding the baby going, oh, come here, sweetie. Mummy's this, mummy's that, making out that I'm the bad person. The baby can't understand, but just being mental torture for me. So I'm crying in the bathroom like, it's you. Like, we've been having a lovely evening, me and the baby, and you've just come in and just caused, this
fucking madness.
Chaos, yeah. And then that was it. He just started battering me, essaying me in the night. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and he was essaying me. And then I'd say, what are you doing? He'd go, oh, I've done it in my sleep. Did it in my sleep. Whatever, anyway. And then, he started battering me. We'd gone out for drinks and dinner at a pub in Macclesfield, yeah. I was on the phone to a friend outside. He didn't know who I was on the phone to because I never told him because I had to tell him, oh, I'm ringing so-and-so or I'm speaking to my mum, and I had to tell him what I was doing.
Very controlling?
Yeah, very controlling. He's grabbed me by my hair, pulled me to the floor, started battering me on the floor in this pub of people. Nobody rang the police though. Anyway, so that happened and it was just one thing after another. Then he's moved us out of the town because a girl had said he had essayed her, but it was misidentity or whatever.
Yeah.
So he couldn't really clear his name. I mean, I hope it was a false accusation, but who knows? Anyway, so we then have left the town and he's took us to his stepdad's in Bedfordshire. Well, he's secluded me then from
everyone who's close to you.
Yeah, my mum, my grandma, my job, because I had the same job for 7 years working in a little coffee shop. My sister, my stepdad, everybody. So I've got nobody. And then the beatings just got worse. He used to lock me in the flat and take the laptop, the house phone, my mobile phone. So I couldn't get out with me and my boy. Me and Mum, he was 2 at this point. Couldn't leave the flat or anything.
Take him for a walk,
couldn't take him for a walk, couldn't do anything, right? And then in the process of that, we've met these 2 friends. There was a string of offences between him on me, and I sent you the proof earlier. Because he grabbed hold of my hair and opened the cupboard door on my head like that one day, but I rang the police then. I mean, I'd rang the police a couple of times when he really, really hurt me, but I always dropped the charges. You know what it was like for women like that. I mean, now I think they try to pursue it without the...
Yeah, with the charges being dropped, they're all over it now.
Yeah, that's it. But back in the day, he could flutter his eyelashes and it would go away. Do you know what I mean? We've made friends with this couple. They've seen I've got 2 black eyes. Sorry, I just need to...
Now then, everyone, sorry to interrupt this episode, but this is a quick message from our sponsor, Loco's Competitions. They do live draws every Tuesday on Facebook at 6 p.m. Cash prizes, TVs, games consoles, vouchers, you name it, they've got it. Go check them out. Now get back to the episode.
They seen I've got 2 black eyes and they were like, oh, has he done that to you? I was like, yeah. And then one night we'd gone out for dinner and drinks and stuff, and the girl that I was with had said, oh, let's go to the pub. And I was like, I can't just go to the pub. He will not let me go to the pub. She goes, say we're going to the supermarket. So I said, oh, we're going to go to the supermarket, get a bottle of vodka. But then we ended up going to the pub. 20 minutes, 20 minutes isn't 20 minutes when you go to the pub, right? And plus she'd never had her head kicked in. She'd never really
didn't understand the situation.
Yeah, she didn't understand the situation. So we've ended up coming back. No. He's come out of the flat, couldn't find us. Then he sent the other lad to come and find us. Anyway, we've ended up coming back, and then he's come out screaming and shouting, where have you been, blah, blah, blah. She's then gone, bosh, smacked him round the face. I thought, oh, what have you just done? She's like, we know you hit your missus, but that's going to come back on me. She doesn't realise that. Do you know what I mean? So then he started pushing her. The other lad started hitting him, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I've tried to go back in the flat. I've gone back in the flat. There's a blooming kitchen knife on the floor. I'm like, how the hell has that gone there?
So he was going to use that?
Whether it was to threaten me, whether it was to do something to me, I don't know.
It doesn't just end up on the floor.
It doesn't just end up on the floor. So I've thought, sod this, it's either him or me. So I've just got it, I've just grabbed it, seen red, gone out of the flat and just gone
Gemma, have you just had enough?
I just had enough. I just saw red and I've just stabbed him multiple times. That's it. I mean, luckily it was like he's gone like that and it's in his arms, but I went through his tendons and he had to go to emergency surgery.
You just had enough,
I just had enough. I was just a woman that snapped. 4 years I was with him, and 4 years he just made me feel like just abuse.
Physical, mentally,
and get
verbally.
On this, verbally, and get on this. He even got in my mum's head, right? And they made a plot to take me to Dieppe in France on the ferry and him to push me overboard and she would share my nan's inheritance with him. That is even my own mother. He got in her head that much.
Oh my God.
And when I questioned her about it, she goes, "Oh, it was just a joke." What? Just a joke? What the hell? So this is how nuts he is. And he's not just me, he's done this to a string of women. He's now listed under Clare's law. He's just come off his restraining order, I think, but his ex-missus, which has been a string of them, she had to get him on a restraining order against him because he's loopy. Loopy. So anyway, so I've done that. Armed response have come with the
guns
AR-15, they've got me on the floor. They're like, "Get on the effing floor." So I'm there with my hands behind my head. I've put the knife in the sink at this point, but there's just blood everywhere. I've accidentally stabbed my friend in the hand as well because he got in the way. Oh, it was chaos. So they, and then my little boy was asleep while all this was going on. There was 2 kids there, my kid and their kid. He was asleep. My little boy's woke up. He's seen his mum on the floor with being pointed so I'm like, "What have you done? What have you done?" I'm just kicking myself. And that was it. The next thing I know, my friend luckily came and got my little boy, so she was looking after him while I was in the NIC. They've arrested me on attempted murder charges because he was rushed to surgery.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in a cell in a boiler suit, Tony, because they took all my clothes off me. Forensics, And I'm thinking, but you know what, Tony? Like, I didn't feel any remorse. I felt relief that I was out of it. The only thing I was sitting there thinking is it going to be a murder charge or attempted murder or, whatever? Because I was so relieved. I thought, that's it, he's gone.
Did they remand you or did they release you and stuff?
So they dropped the charge to GBH with intent because it was just in his arms. There was no torso. So that was not attempted murder, it was GBH with intent. So they bailed me. And then on bail, I ended up finding another partner, which is who you've met earlier, right? I know it seems crazy, but I ended up pregnant, right? And
he seems a nice fella.
He's a lovely lad. And but then I ended up getting into business with this gangster. So this gangster came from Shoreditch to the area, right? He's clocked me walking down the street. He must have knew who I was, and he goes, "Oh, you can have a little word with you." So I've gone, "Yeah."
This is while you're on bail. You're on bail waiting for trial.
Yeah, this is why I'm on bail waiting for trial. So he said to me, "Are you that little girl that stabbed her fella?" And I goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "I've got a proposition for you." And I was like, "Well, I'm not a contract killer, you know what I mean? It was a domestic, you know what I mean? This big guy, he was in like big Ralph Lauren trench coat, the ones, innit? He had a proper gangster from Shoreditch. I said, "Right, okay," because I've gone to every job interview.
And you were just getting nothing, Gemma?
Well, I was in the paper as the local stabber.
So no one wanted to employ you?
Nobody wanted to employ me, so I thought, well, I've got to take it, I need money. So he goes, "Go and get suited booted, get in that pub in 15 minutes. So I've gone in there, right? I've gone to get ready. I've gone to this pub. There's loads of money on the bench. And he goes, "Now that's for turning up." So I thought, I'm getting groomed. But I knew I was getting groomed. Do you know what I mean? I was like 20 odd by this.
Because you knew what had gone on in the pub.
Yeah. So I thought, right, okay. So I've took the money and he goes, "What do you know about cooking books?" So I was like, "What, Gordon Ramsay?" But what he meant is fraud in the books. I'd never heard of cooking books. But I had to wing it, Tony, because I needed this money. So I goes, "Oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing." The next day I'm in the library like, "What is cooking books?"
Yeah.
So I've ended up working for this gangster, and I won't go into it, but because we've not got enough time, but I'd ended up doing some business for him and whatnot, right? And then I got out of it because luckily my court case come up, and then it got remanded, and then I was pregnant, so I said to the solicitor, "Now, can I have my baby, or do I need, will I have to have
a baby in jail or?"
Yeah. Can I have my baby in... Well, no, I just said, can I have my baby? Yeah, in jail, yeah. Or should I have an abortion? Even though abortion was against my...
Yeah.
But
you didn't want to be in jail because the concept of...
I just thought, do I want to put baby in the care system or is it better to have an abortion? I know that sounds awful, doesn't it, right? She goes, no, there's mother and baby units in prison. Well, I'd never heard of a mother and baby unit in prison. So I'm like, right, brilliant. How do I go about that? She goes, you need to remand yourself.
Did you know you were going to jail?
Yeah, I knew that because you can't, for GBH with intent, it's instant.
It's a custodial.
Yeah. I was looking at 8 years, right? And then she said to me, you need to remand yourself. So I said, right, I've got to remand myself. So I said to my boyfriend, I need to remand myself because it's easier to get have the baby in jail and get a mother and baby unit place rather than get your baby in from the out, because you can bring your baby in from the out under 2 years old as well, which a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. So I've gone to court, Cambridge Crown Court. I've said to the judge, can I remand myself? I'm going guilty because I went not guilty at first because I was going to argue it, mitigating factors and all that. And I just thought, I can't be bothered. I'm just going to go guilty. And he said, yeah, you're remanded. There you go, off to HMP Peterborough. So I've gone there. They've stuck me on healthcare.
What was it like when you went? Was you like...
I wasn't worried. I wasn't scared because, I'd seen my dad in and out of strange ways.
So you've been in that environment sort of thing?
Yeah, so I always knew in the back of my mind I could end up there one day. I know that is like victim mentality, isn't it? And I've not got that anymore, but I did have it for a long time. And, this woman was like, oh, are you hungry? I was like, yeah, can I have some fish and chips? And she just launched them at me. I thought, wait a minute. And then they put me on healthcare. Then I was shipped to A wing, and then it was C wing. And then this one guy came over, this prison officer, came over from the mother and baby unit. I goes, oh, are you here about my mother and baby place? Because I'm just asking every day, am I going to get this place? Am I going to get this place? And he just looked at me and went, no, proper nasty.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, there's no need to talk to me like that. So I've seen his SO and I've gone, you can tell that greasy. Yeah. He doesn't need to talk to us like that. We are humans, yeah? Well, he's gone and this SO has relayed the comment that I've said to this narcissistic screw, right? Prison officer. So he's now got it in for me, right? So I've ended up going into labour on C wing because there was a problem with my urine and it showed that the baby was in distress, right? So they've handcuffed me, shackled me to the hospital. I'm turning up to the hospital in handcuffs, yeah? They can't release me because I'm a prolific violent offender because I've got...
On the outside, you mean? So they've escorted you to the outside?
Yeah, in a taxi. So two prison officers take you to the hospital handcuffed.
While
you're pregnant, yeah. They've said that the baby's distressed, so they've unshackled me so I can, give birth in peace. And so I'm giving birth. So they've induced me and I'm giving birth with 2 prison officers in tow. They have to stay in the birthing suite. They can't stay outside. So you've got 2 prison officers while you give birth, right? So that was a whole situation. And this screw that I've called Greasy accidentally is now trying to get my mother and baby unit place stopped.
So
totally stopped, right? So I'm now panicking, thinking, oh my God, I've said the wrong thing. He's going to get my mother and baby unit stopped. Anyway, they've seen through his tactics, I think, and they've given me a place, right? So the baby's nearly died. He's got the cord wrapped around his neck 4 times, totally blue. He's 2 weeks in intensive care. I'm in there for 2 weeks. You've got the 2 screws in the, the suite or whatever afterwards. So if I need the toilet or I need a shower, one's got to go with me, and in case you abscond or whatever. So that was a whole situation. I've finally got me placed in mother and baby unit. I'm in the cell the first night. I'm breastfeeding. Yeah, I've just got my canteen that was waiting for me 2 weeks off my other wing, right? So I'm buzzing for my mint aero. What does he do? Officer Greasy. Bosh. Opens my cell door straight away. He goes, Greasy, am I? I thought, oh my God.
Is he still going on about this?
Is he still going on about it? So I've had to slip, I'm in fight or flight mode. I'm like, right, what do I do? I've gone, I didn't say greasy. I said greasy. He's a little bit greasy. It's a street word for being cool. I just made it up. I've never even heard that word in my life. So then he's like, oh, cool. Yeah. And I've thought, oh no. And then he just wouldn't leave me alone. He moved me. I was in the cell across the way from the officer's
So he could
office.
What?
Yeah, no, he's moved me. So he's moved me out of eyes view.
Oh, right.
Yeah, all of a sudden he just came I think it was a Sunday, and he said, right, you're moving cells, Gemma. So I was like, why? Okay, okay then. So I've gone, moved cells, and he's put me right in this little bit where there's no one can see him coming to my cell. Oh. So he started coming to my cell, sitting there, grooming me again. You know what I mean?
You were onto him.
I was onto him, but what could I do? What could I do? So he was saying all this stuff. Oh, I've never met a girl like you before. You shouldn't be in a place like this. You're the best mother on the unit.
Wanting to hear what he wants you to hear.
Yeah, saying all of that. And I thought, what can I do? I can't go to the screws and say anything about this because he's going to flip it on me. I know exactly what he's like.
Because what he's done before.
Yeah, what he's done before. And get on this right, yeah. He grabbed me and my little other mate who was from Luton up the way there. he grabbed us both in one day and made this big fabrication that was a bomb scare in HMP Peterborough, right? He's grabbed me and my little mate and our 2 kids. He's gone, quick, everybody in your cells, there's a bomb scare, yeah? Going up and down the corridor like a madman. It was all a lie.
It was fabrication.
It was false. He just wanted the attention off all the girls and to scare us all with our kids. This is how tapped he was.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, man, honestly, I'm telling you now. So anyway, that all became a thing, and then that was it. Then he was like, he came to my cell one day, grabbed me, yeah, just barged in and just started snogging me. My little baby was laying on the bed, right? He's snogging me, yeah, snogging the face off me. I'm like, ugh, you know what I mean? So I'm just froze, but I'm just like going with it, whatever. And then obviously that a kiss turns into full intimacy and everything else. So this would happen. What he would do is get the girls to go to chapel, yeah? So I was the only girl on the wing.
Out of sight.
Yeah. So then he would just do whatever he wants. If he wants it, he's having it. Do you know what I mean? And he would even come in on his day off in civvy clothes. And you're not supposed to do that. But he was so good at talking rubbish, right?
He had the spiel. He
had the spiel. And he said he'd left his phone in the unit. And he'd come barge into my cell. I'm like, what? On your day off?
Was he infatuated?
Infatuated, or I don't know what it was. I really don't know what it was, right? But anyway, I couldn't get out of it and I couldn't tell the SO, so I've just had to ride it out. And then he goes, he said he wanted to move off the unit for some reason, and he ended up getting a job, going to my job placement. So now he can be with me instead of just being with me like in the evening for an hour maybe or whatever. He's with me all day. But luckily the intimacy stopped because he couldn't get his hands on me. But he wanted to know who I was talking to, if I was flirting with any other officers. Yeah. So he's in my job placement now. Anyway, I've managed to get... he rang my probation worker and said I didn't want my HDC, my home detention curfew. Said I...
So you could stay at the unit?
Yeah, so I could stay in prison.
Like on tag or something where you could go out?
Yeah, so if you're good behaviour, you get a tag, you can do a bit of your sentence on tag, right? He has told my probation worker
you don't want it.
With my baby who doesn't want to get out of prison.
You want to be back out in society.
So anyway, I've left it. I've got out, right? They've put me in a hostel. He's turned up at my hostel. I said, what are you doing, right? And I've gone, you need to go. He's like, if I walk from here, you're never going to see me again. I was like, yeah, go. So anyway, I've left it, right? I've just thought, just flipping forget about it. Because who's going to believe me if I go to the police again for another SA case? Do you know what I mean? So I left it, and then my probation worker, she goes, I just want to pull something up with you, right? And I was like, yeah, what? She goes, I had this weird conversation with this prison officer, and he said you didn't want your HDC, and I just broke down. I went, yeah, and there's a possibility I could be pregnant. She goes, no way. And she just knew. She knew it. So she's marched me to the police station. He got, what do you call it when you're on leave, but paid.
Oh, paid without leave.
Yeah, something like that, right? Yeah. And the police officer, it was the London riots. She went when that lad got shot in his car.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was 2011.
I remember it, yeah.
10, 11. Anyway, right, so the copper was sidetracked with the riots and whatnot. So he just said quick, he goes, was it SA or the R word, yeah? And I said, no. Well, no, but it was coercion. You know, I've been, to me, like what I went through at 17.
The situation and all what you've been through.
So I was like, that's
playing in the back of your mind. Yeah. Because people will probably go, why didn't she go and say something? Now, Gemma, to be let down when you've been in that court.
Yeah.
With the horrific stuff that went on. And then you think to yourself, they're not going to fucking believe me.
Yeah.
And when you're saying about how cunning and how fucking crafty he was by like, because he was being like slimy and stuff like that, and you're thinking, just making your life you want to do your sentence. Yeah. You've done your crime, you've done your time, you want to get out of prison with your baby.
Yeah.
And I just think you're such a strong person to go with that because, you know, like you say, making your life a misery. You didn't. He's going to take away your baby, the mother and baby unit.
Yeah, place.
Is my baby going to go into fucking care?
Yeah.
That's you know. Yeah. All because this fella wants his wicked way. And
so it was easier just to put up and shut up, and just let him.
Just a strong person to do that because
I think many women have to go through what I've been through. Just having to shut up and go along with it. It's just a lot of women have, and I just
sitting in silence out there.
Sitting in silence out there. My inbox is full of women saying I wouldn't dare speak out, but this is what's happened to me. I've got hundreds and hundreds of messages. Do you know what I mean? So I know I'm not the only one. and it's got to stop. These predators have got to stop. And so what's happened now? So
what happened to him?
So yeah, he got nicked, and they put it down as coercion or something like that. Abuse of misconduct in office.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
did he deny it, or did he?
No. So he admitted it. So luckily, yeah. But he was. See how my perpetrators are brought to just certain perpetrators are brought to justice straight away. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, we'll go into that in a minute. So he went to court, but my partner's family were like, oh, you don't want your name dragging through the mud, you know, just move on from it, see if they can proceed in your absence. And I just thought, I can't do a court case again. So I said to him, can you proceed in my absence? They said, yeah, but he was able to talk himself out of it. He turned it all around on me, said I was the seducer, even though I'd just give birth, I had milk leaking from my, breasts, right? I was the seducer. I'd said we were soulmates. This, that and the other, and that he was a reputable character and went to do anti-crime talks in schools around young girls. In schools around young girls, when he's in prison, in the prison system, essaying young girls, because I weren't the only one. There was a traveller girl in there. I was in there with a traveller girl from Corby, and he kept opening her flat when she was getting dressed and stuff. He knew exactly, he timed it. He knew exactly when she got her pyjamas on. And he would open the flap on her and stuff. He was something else. Anyway, so he's managed to talk his way out of it. He got a slap on the wrist. I think it was community. It's all online. I'll ping you the details in a bit. And he just got, community service. That was it, and a slap on the wrist. But yeah, they'll send this woman to prison, won't they, that's had an intimate act with a prisoner.
Prison officer.
Yeah, or they'll send a girl to prison for lying about SA. Now, girls cannot lie about SA. I won't put up with it because I'm raising men and I'm with a man and I won't stand for false accusations. But you will put a woman in prison for false accusations, but you're not going to put a man in prison for actually committing SA. It's backwards, Tony. The system's backwards.
Something needs to be done. You know, like you said at the beginning of the podcast there is a small majority of women that what's the names, and you know, there's a lot of cases. I know a lad that was fucking what's the name, and it's horrific. But there's more cases what we're talking about here now, Gemma, that people don't need to sit in silence because it's not acceptable.
No.
It's their secret, not yours.
Yeah, it is.
And I think people need to take that on board where it is hard, you know, and I understand that people are scared and, you know, they feel like no one will believe them. They feel like the dirt, they'll feel, you know, like you say, people can say all the right things, do all the nice things and all that. And this is that's what we've been speaking about.
Yeah.
The grooming side of it.
Yeah, the grooming side of it.
And the actual assaults. It's like, but like you're saying, getting away with that. And I'm not, that's not, make an example of them. Not community service.
No.
Nail them,
yeah. It's like it's got to stop, but will it ever change? You know, I'm hoping now, you know, that more women are coming forward and talking about SA, that it does change. And it's not just women, it's men as well.
Yeah,
we all suffer at the hands of these monsters. You know, there's young lads that have grown up and that have been...
And they've sat in silence for years.
And they've sat in silence because I can't imagine what it's like for a man to be...
Yeah, SA.
It takes away your masculinity. Do you know what I mean?
We've had a couple of guests on, you know, unfortunately... you know, have opened up and spoke on the podcast, and you know, like yourself, such strong individuals, and it's so sad that like I've just said there, it's not your secret.
Yeah, it's not.
It's their secret.
It's their dirty laundry, not yours.
But people don't know how to speak about it all.
Yeah.
And listen, they're living a traumatic experience for the rest of their lives. These fucking animals.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what they are, they're animals, that's what we'll call them.
Yeah,
they're
the
animals.
monsters.
The monsters,
We have to change the terminology because at the moment, there's all this anti-men culture and I won't put up with it because I'm sick of it because there's so many good men out there. And look at all the workers and stuff. Look who's emptying your bins and stuff. You know, these are all good, solid men. Now we've got to stop. We've got to change the terminology and call them what they are, the monsters, predators. They're not men. A real man wouldn't do that, you know. I think that's why I've stayed with my partner so long because he's got no predatory in him, you know. And he always said to me, your boyfriends were 27 and you were 16. He's like, they'd get run out of town where I'm from because he's from London, right? Yeah. He's from Kilburn. So he's like, he couldn't understand it.
It's the logic, you know, when you look at it and you think, no, that's a bit... that's a bit what's the name? The age difference and stuff like that. You question it straight away, you know what I mean? You'd be like, no, I'm not happy with that. Whoa.
That's
why are you taking an interest in such a young girl?
In such a young girl? Because, You know, they can pull
It's
the wool
scary,
out.
Gemma.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's scary.
If somebody turned up to my doorstep, I've got a daughter, right, and they were 27 and she was 16, well, I wouldn't tell you what I'll bloody do.
Cool. But you know what? It's like this way. And you know what? You tell me if I'm wrong, and tell me, you know, and I think with young girls, when you do, you know, girls, I think sometimes are a bit more mature than men.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Lads, absolutely, yes.
But when a young girl, and like you're saying, an older guy shows interest in them,
Yeah.
I think and they get besotted, or they've never had that type of, like your situation.
Yeah.
You know it, as a man or an adult, you know it's wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
You know it's wrong. And I just don't get it. Like you said, your fella, he said, nah, none of that would go on by us. And or you'd voice it and you'd say, that doesn't seem right. That he's 34 and she's 16 or something. You know, madness, you know what I mean?
It's terrible. It's got to stop. It really has. All predators just need to stop. Leave kids alone, you know. It's just...
I don't know what it is with these monsters.
It's because older women can see through their falsehood, you know, the tactics, but a little girl can't see through it. Where an older woman, she's been through a narcissist, a predator, a predator.
They've been there, they've seen
it.
it.
So they can't pull the wool over their eyes. And women don't want these kinds of men that have clued up. But these little girls don't know any different, you know.
People showing them that, like, you know what I mean? And
it's just...
And your inboxes are full.
My inbox is full. My inbox is full.
All the time.
Yeah, because we're talking about kids, but you've got to remember, right? These kids grow up into adults, and there's still adults in these grooming gangs where they're so hooked on substance and they've never got out. So it's just now they are classed as S workers, but really they weren't. They were kids.
They've been groomed, yeah.
They've been groomed, but now they go under the radar because they're classed as S workers, but they were kids that were groomed.
It started from that.
Yeah, it started from that. And now they've got no choice but to be S workers because they're hooked on substance at the hands of these...
And that's what they do.
Groomers.
You know, there you go. Giving them what they want.
Imagine what I'd have done if he was passing me on to his friend like that. If I'd have gone to Bradford that one last time. I'd have been in the circle. I'd been trafficked to Blackpool. You remember back in the day, there was that young girl went missing and she'd gone ground up into kebab meat. That was we never found her, have they, to this day? That was the rumour that she was ground up into kebab meat. And I remember going to Blackpool around that time as well. It's
scary.
It's so scary.
And it's now coming to, like, you know, you are getting strong people speaking out now.
Yes.
And putting it out there on platforms, on social media. And that's where it needs to be, Gemma.
We have to keep talking about it, otherwise we're never going to end it, but we have to work to reducing it because child exploitation has to end, or at least, you know, we have to reduce it. Because it can't carry on, and why we're not talking about it, and why these groomers are getting covered up again, and why we're not having another national inquiry again.
Yeah.
They're going to think, we can get away with it. We're safe.
But you know what? I said to Ben the other day, I'm going to ask Gemma about this.
Yeah.
Did you see the Keir Starmer interview the other day?
I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch it because honestly...
Me and Ben spoke about it on the train on the way down to London.
Yeah.
How... does that man, Slippery,
please,
how he could not answer that lady's questions?
Yeah,
she said, and she give. Was it Samir Khan? Was it?
Oh, not him! Don't even get me started.
Who did I say it was? Sorry.
You said it was Keir Starmer.
No, Keir Starmer. Sorry.
It was
Apologies.
Sadiq Khan.
Sadiq Khan. It was.
Right.
Okay.
Don't get me started on him.
But when I watched that interview the other day, that lady that like questioned them weeks and weeks or such and before. Yeah. The man couldn't answer the questions.
He said it didn't happen in London, didn't he?
He was, and then he come out with, what was the words, Ben? He came out with the words of, don't use that word. It's not that. No, give the lady the due.
Yeah.
She said, give the lady the due. She said, I'm going to come out with this. It's gangs.
Yeah.
That's what she come out with. She went, it's not grooming
gangs.
It's what's her name's, and she used that word. And he was all like, and then he started playing on the fact of Chris had used that word and the words that they used to just, and he was just like a slippery little, you could see him melting in the chair because he couldn't answer the questions. And we're like, come on now, you know, it's the biggest city in the UK where this is the biggest city in the UK, London. You've got other little cities and it's going on all there. What have we got them in this city? And he would not answer the question. How does that make you feel when you think that, you know, he's the, what's his name, and, you know, Sadiq Khan, he can't even...
He should not be the Mayor of London. He just shouldn't be the Mayor of London. I won't even tell you my opinion on that man, but he's a snaky little... Well, I just won't go into it. I just don't like the man. And I don't like, well, you know, obviously... Look, I'm not right or left. I'm anti-establishment. I'm not remotely interested. I don't trust any of them. I think they're all as bad as each other. I think they're complicit in the in child exploitation. I think that's why it gets covered up, because I think they're all a bunch of... The majority of them are perverts. You know, I mean, it's... There's story after story.
I seen a list the other day of what you've just mentioned there.
Yes.
And it was like charges and stuff like that. And you just think, why is this not in the public?
Yeah.
You know, why is it not being highlighted?
This is why they get covered up. Even Jimmy Savile and all that, because they're all involved in it. It goes way deeper than we think. There's a dark side to the system, the patriarchy. You know, they're all complicit in child exploitation. I don't care what anybody says. And I've just been protesting outside 10 Downing Street with a lady from Wolverhampton. I'll put it on my social media in a bit. And she was screaming on the megaphone, you are all involved, you know. They are.
And was the police trying to move you on or anything?
No, because it's freedom of speech. So yeah, we were there, and we were successful. But, and like I said, I made a banner and I said, the government have essayed us too, because they have. We deserve that inquiry. My girls and lads, because and it's not just white girls, Tony, right? My inbox is full. Now, I was naive and I also thought they were targeting white girls, but it's black girls, brown girls, mixed race girls, lads, white girls. They're targeting everybody. It's just, if you are a little bit vulnerable, you're a target to these groomers. And why this inquiry hasn't gone through, they're just going to get away with it again. Now, we have to safeguard...
Make some noise.
Yeah, we have to safeguard our kids. So I'm putting content out there to say, look, because men are running tanning shops, these grooming men are running tanning shops. Why are men running tanning shops for girls? Young girls are going in and they're like, oh, do you want to drink? Do you know what I mean? And a free sunbed. You know, we've got to safeguard the country, the kids of this country.
It's just little things like that where you think that doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. So, I mean, look, I've got my own views and I'll keep them for my own platform because I don't want to cause any trouble to the podcast. But, no, I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all with the whole situation. I'm just not happy. They've got to be brought to justice. And, you know, there's so many girls that have lost their lives, like we've said. I've got an inbox full of brothers that he's like, my sister's just a substance user now. You know, we've lost her.
It's destroyed her.
Yeah, it's destroyed her. And they have to give birth to their, you know, essayer's baby. Yeah. You know, I'm trying to tiptoe around the terminology. Yeah. But, you know, so they've got to, as much as you love your child, that's still a man that's essayed you. You've got to look at that child every day.
I remind you of what...
Yeah, it's a reminder. So some women can handle it and they'll cherish that baby. And some have said to me, you know, that baby is a shining light in my life, which I think with all my kids. But some have gone on to end their lives.
Take their own,
the families don't really want to look after the baby because it's a constant reminder for them.
What's going on.
You've got loads of children in the care system now that are these SA babies, basically. So it's insane.
It's horrific when you know. When
it's insane.
That is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, Jay.
So yeah, from there, you know, I got out of prison. He got nicked. He got done, and then I went. Life was all right. Moved around a bit, and then I ended up in London. So I ended up living here, right? Well, that was it. Someone got shot. I lived at Chalkhill Estate, right? So my youngest is born and bred North Wheezy, Northwest London. I've seen somebody's got shot outside my house at the little park down the road. So I've took all kids down. I've gone, oh, should we go to the park? Let's go before it gets, because if it gets aggy. If you go to that park in an afternoon, Tony, mate, it's like flipping war zone. I'm not, you know what I mean?
So you're just taking the kids for the...
So I took kids in the morning while it was quiet so they could all run off a bit of energy in the half term or whatever. I've gone there. Police have cordoned the park off, yeah? There's claret everywhere, all over the floor, right? I'm like, what's happened? And this cop has gone to me, oh, someone, you know, there's been an incident, right? So kids are all looking at blood. I'm going, oh, let's have a look at the blood. Because you switch off, Tony. My kids have, you know, they've seen so much, growing up in London. That was only one of them, one of the things we've seen. So I've said to the copycat, well, can you just uncordon this bit so I can still take him in the park? Literally, like, that's how I would just desensitise.
As if it was okay.
As if it was okay.
It's a crime scene.
Yeah, it was a crime scene. And the kids going, oh, yeah, let's look for the weapon, you know, the murder weapon, right? Sounds mad, doesn't it?
No, yeah.
So that happened, and then we had there's a local artist called Big French. He was shot at in his car, but I think the gun jammed, and so he managed to survive. And then the same day, his best mate got shot in the head in front of his little lad outside the chicken shop on the Harrow Road. Oh, mate, it was just one thing after another. I've got a video on my phone that would cause civil unrest in this country. I'm telling you now, but I can't air it, Tony, because they're minors, do you know what I mean? But it's relevant to what's going on in the moment regarding this ideology and that, and how
rife it is. And
if you're not a certain religion, how you get treated in the schools. Now, my son got stabbed in the buttocks, right, by a young lad. You know, the old school compasses with the sharp bit.
Yeah.
So he was in the dinner queue. Now, my lad is a good lad. He's not gang affiliated. He's, you know, brought him up good. He's just a bit of not a geek, but, you know,
he's just a normal kid.
Yeah, just a normal grassroots kid. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Plays football, blah, 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 right? This little lad's come up to him. He'd already been discriminatory to him, calling him like typical stereo. Why do white people always eat ham sandwiches? Why do white people, you know, just being discriminatory. Anyway, he's then gone up to my lad in the dinner queue, bop, several times in his buttocks, right? I mean, lad's come home, he's hobbling up the stairs, said, what happened? He goes, no, I don't want to tell you. I said, what's happened now? Tell me now. And he's gone, oh, I've been stabbed, but it was only by a compass. I've gone, let me have a look. And he's gone, no. Anyway, he's managed to let me have a look. He's pulled his box up, several holes in his bum.
From the sharp compass,
well, it's gone straight into that. You know how big they are. It's gone straight in. So I've rang the school, I've got a few minutes. He goes, Mum, I can't snitch. You know, that's the code in London. You don't, well, in any gang or any gang area or whatever it is.
It's in society, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's it, right? So I said, right, this has happened, but I don't want the police involved. I just want this boy to know if he does it again, he's going to have me to deal with, right? And she said, right, okay. But she goes, I think you should call the police. I said, no, we all make mistakes. Just take this as a lesson learned and blah, 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 blah. My son has gone to school the next day, Tony. That's how tough he is. Now, my kids were the only white English kids in the whole school. And they went to 2 schools. So I've got 2 younger ones in a primary school. They were
one in secondary school.
One in secondary school. Now, they're the only white kids in the whole borough of where in schools where they went, right? In my own country, yeah? So you cannot talk to me about you're racist for mentioning the groomer's ethnicity, you're racist for this. If we were racist, we wouldn't have gone with our groomers in the first place. And you cannot say to me about racism when my kids have been discriminated against on a daily basis for not only their hair colour, their skin colour, their religion. Because if you're not following a certain religion, and we all know what religion I'm talking about, girls, and I'm not just talking about white girls, black girls, Christian black girls are targeted as well. They're called haram if they want to wear a t-shirt, or they don't want to wear it, you know, because we don't wear hijabs. And they're called haram. They're called every name under the sun. Because my kids have got red hair, 2 of them, right? So they were saying that my daughter was a spawn of the devil because she had red hair and blue eyes. They were saying how pale she was, that she looks like a vampire. So you cannot tell me. Listen, everybody needs to get off their high horse, and realise that everybody's racist. No one is going to ever stop that. Like, when I say everyone, I don't mean every single person, but I mean every race, I'm telling you now, you'll think, one race will think they're better than another race. Like in certain areas of London and certain places, Africans don't associate with Jamaicans, you know, Indians won't associate with Pakistani or something, you know. Everybody kind of sticks...
The cultures are different.
Yeah, the cultures are different. Now, regular kids will just mix, you know what I mean? Like, my lad, he's got Sri Lankan mates, Afghan mates, he just mixed with everybody, yeah? But the girls don't mix. It's like non-Muslim girls are classed as something else, do you know what I mean? So for my daughter, she's got PTSD from going to school in London because they were so horrible to her. They bullied her every single day, Tony.
How old is she?
This went on from 6 to 10 years old. I got them out, Tony. I got them out of London.
Yeah.
Got them out of London because there's no way. There's absolutely no way. And it's like, it's just the kids, man. They shouldn't be force-fed this ideology,
like
you know.
Say, the kids, it should, you know, let kids be kids.
Just kids get on, man. Kids don't see colour. Kids don't see colour. It comes from the parents.
It comes from somewhere.
Or it comes from wherever,
like you say, let kids... go and, you know, be kids, go out and play and go and you know, explore and do stuff, but it's just unfortunate there's a society that we live in today.
It's crazy. It's scary. It is scary. Now, we've got to be careful with words like migrants as well. Now, everyone's saying, oh, the migrants, but 90% of my cohort of friends are from migrant parents. Do you know what I mean? And they're all good Brazilian, Portuguese, Mauritian. They're all in very good jobs in this country, but they have come from migration. So we can't criticise migration as you know, a whole, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's all got to change. Society as a whole has got to change. Of
course it has. And it'd be, you know, if there was a what's the name one that we could just do that, it would be fantastic. And get to the bottom of certain, you know, situations. And the world would be a better place.
Yes, yeah, it is. I think everybody needs to be more cultured, Tony, because at the moment, so say you come from, say you don't grow up around diversity, you only see black, white and brown, and that's not the case. So you're classing Brazilian, Portuguese.
You're classing everyone with the same, everyone with the same brush, aren't you? Tarring everyone with the same brush.
So when a certain movement used to go around Luton back in the day, now my Mauritian friend couldn't leave the house because she was classed as
right, okay,
Asian, but she's not Asian, she's Mauritian, do you know what I mean? So that's where we have got to change. You need to know your ethnicities so that you're not just...
Stop jumping on the bandwagon and do your research.
Do your research, yeah. Just do your research, because it's only certain members that you know, put these movements down, because you've got a certain calibre of people that are, let's say, racist, and then it's bringing down the whole movement.
Yeah.
So, and then the press will only... these people that are actually being
they'll print
racist.
What they want to, yeah.
And then that'll bring the whole movement down as a whole. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Of course it is. What's family life like now?
Oh, right. So life is brilliant now, yeah. And Sean Atwood, right, I just have to mention him. He asked me, Gemma, are you happy? And I said, no, Sean, because I'm not. But now, Tony.
You're buzzing.
I'm buzzing because I've got a purpose. Now, my kids have always been my purpose, but I was carrying all this guilt and all this shame, and now I can be a voice for all these women and help these women get on podcasts and come on my YouTube channel, or, you know, I can inbox them, or I can put them onto an organisation. I've got a purpose for what I went through. Yeah. So I'm helping survivors. So, yeah.
But you know what? Considering what you've been through.
Yeah.
You know, let's be honest. That, you know, like I've said it a couple of times in the podcast, you're a strong individual.
Yeah.
Driven, you know, you're standing for what's right, and to come on, and I know you've done a couple of podcasts, but to come on, and I'm going to be honest, I found it very hard. It's probably one of the hardest episodes we've done, because seeing you cry like that, and you know, when I was thinking, oh, do we stop this podcast? Because, but you're so strong, and you want to get the message out there, and like I said to you, it needs to be out there, because it's going on all over the country.
Yes,
but to see you smiling, to be in a place where what you've gone through, where you could be drug addict, you could be
easily,
you know, unfortunately with your parents, what happened to them and stuff, and that could have been the road. And it's a lot of people go through trauma in life. Yours is just off the scale, and
a catalogue of horrors it's been referred to.
It's, do you know what? And to see you smiling and. You know, you're happy, you know, you're in a strong relationship, you know, with your fella, and your kids, you know, you've got the purpose is there to, you know, you're not giving up on them, where a lot of people would give up, and, you know, whatever that may be. But Gemma, I just think you honestly, you're a strong person, and how do people reach you if they want to, like, get in touch with you or whatever? So
my social media is Bipolar Mum Journey, and just reach out from there, TikTok, Instagram, or my email on my link tree, just wherever you can reach out to me, and if I can't help you, I'll put you on to somebody that can help you.
So you're there to advise, and
advise and guide.
You must have hundreds daily, you must have.
Yeah, it's slowing down a little bit, but you know, some days are heavier than others, and plus I have to read all these because I don't want to just pass it off, you know what I mean? So I'm taking the time to read it for detail. But you know what's sad? The same story. It's just like reading the same.
One after the other.
One after the other, yeah. Especially with my main stories at the moment are the grooming.
The grooming.
There's so many girls saying, I don't come out, but this is what happened to me. And they're not doing it for clout. They're not doing it for 5 minutes of my attention. They're saying, look, you might not even read this message, but this is what's happened to me. Thank you for being a voice for us. And it's just loads.
So being that SA campaigner, you know, I think, you know, from there, what would you like to do, Gemma? Would you, I mean, obviously you're making it.
Yeah.
You're getting it out there in the public domain and you're not going away.
I'm not going away. So the next thing is freelancing, start my own organisation and get my own team. You know, something that I can really be the eyes of and make sure they're giving the right help to the right people, because I want them to know all the gory details of, because you've got to think it really affects your relationship with intimacy after you've been.
Of course.
And some girls might even go back in their head to when it happened. And, you know, it's just, I won't talk about it on here because it's like a private topic, but I just want you to know that any behaviour you've done after SA or any weird thoughts, believe me, I've had weird thoughts, you know, it's all normal. It's just all part of the trauma of being SA'd, and you need to know that, you know, you are normal.
Would you be interested in going into schools, colleges and stuff like that?
So that's what I'm starting. So I'm working with an anti-knife crime advocate and an anti-child exploitation advocate. He's called Wesley Cunliffe. He's based in Wales. He's fantastic. He sorted me out. I turned into a little girl when I talked about my grooming scandal because I'd never spoken about it. And he's picked me up off the floor. I'm also working with Deborah Cowie, who is a child exploitation
advocate.
Yeah, and she's got her own organisation in Newcastle called Coloured Hearts. So I've got a good team of people that are helping me.
There's a network there.
Yeah, there's a network. So then my next step is to get into schools, because, like, my daughter had 2 coppers come and do an anti-knife crime seminar the other day, and the kids laughed at them. Nobody wants to hear about coppers. They want to hear about people with lived experience. Now, I'm not proud of going to prison, Tony, but kids know, you know, if, she's been in prison, like, she knows what it's about, we're going to listen to her.
And you can advise them, look, it's not the place you want to be, but that's where you'll end up.
But that's where you'll end up, yeah. And if you pick up a knife, you're going to use it.
It's like we had someone on, and they were addicted. It's totally off the subject. We had a couple of schools from Liverpool and somewhere else, and one of our previous guests, Keelan Densmore, he was talking about drug abuse, about, like, he was using ketamine at the time, and he spoke about it, about, you know, the explaining exactly what it does to your insides and the kid and stuff. And 2 schools or whatever reached out to him to come into school. He said they don't want to listen to us, the teachers with PowerPoints on the book. They want people who've lived that, where you say, look, this is the seriousness. And I think now, you know, people vetted and stuff like that, they to go in, and I think it will, you know, when kids will, you know, if they do see something that's not right, or the mate's going off somewhere, do you know what I mean? It gives them that little bit of thing to speak out.
Yeah. It has to be part of the curriculum now. We have to warn children against grooming. It has to be part of their PHSE.
Going into every school. And I'm not saying at a certain age, because there's certain things that you can't say to... Of course. You know what I mean? Maybe secondary schools.
Secondary schools, not little... You let little kids be little kids, you know.
No, but I just think, you know, what you're doing, Gemma, is fantastic. And, you know, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing the good, the bad and the ugly.
Yeah.